Growing in containers, collard greens with Scott Fain. I like to grow in containers basically because my yard space is limited for what things I can grow where. So I wanted to find a way to grow some bigger vegetables, some more hardy vegetables without compromising the space that I actually had. So I started off with a 5 gallon bucket and started mixing in my own soil. So here's the soil that I started with. I started off with topsoil. Doesn't have a whole lot of nutrients, but it's a good starting place if you just need some dirt. But you want to add in your own extra soil to help balance it out. So I put in peat moss. This is going to help keep the nutrients in, and it helps with moisture and drainage. And of course, here's some garden soil that I had left over. And garden soil has regular dirt and comes with its own fertilizers. And then I mixed in some garden compost. And the garden compost it kind of adds to the overall food, as far as for your plants. It gives your plants a nice nutrient-rich place to start growing. And with manure and a few other things mixed in. So with this little mixture, if you don't have just regular garden soil or potting soil, this is a great little mixture that I'm finding. So I stirred it up with my little shovel here and my little plastic bin, and just want to get it nice and turned around, because the ideal here is for getting a lot of good drainage so you don't hold water. Here's my 5 gallon bucket. In order to prepare this for the plants, you got to drill some holes in the bottom, again, to release that water. You don't want a bunch of water in your pot because it will rot your vegetables and you won't get as good a yield. So I put a lot of holes in the bottom to make sure I get some good water coming out of there. You can also add rocks at the bottom, but I didn't do that here because I figured that the drainage from the peat moss and everything else would be good enough. So of course I'm going to fill her up. You don't fill the bucket all the way up to the top. I like to leave about 4 to 5 inches from the top, from the lip, with the soil. Gives you a little bit of run out room. That's what I learned when I first started putting these together. Don't fill it all the way to the top. Plus that soil is going to come down just a little bit anyway once it gets watered and it starts to settle. Now you make a little hole for your plant that's going to go in. I sprinkled a little bit of fertilizer right there, and that's the tomato vegetable garden fertilizer. And then I just put the dirt around the top of the seedling so it's covered. And then I did the same thing. In this particular pot, I'm doing 2 collard green plants. That might be too much, but I wanted to try it out. I did another one off camera that I only put 1 plant in to see what kind of yield I'd get. Just trying to experiment, have a little fun out here in my lab. But that's about it. I watered it, of course, afterwards, and then basically set it up in the place where it's going to get enough sun throughout the day. But that's about it. I mean, it's really simple, and you can really get going. And in a few weeks, we're going to see what we come back with. So stay tuned. Y'all come back now, you hear?